Hello and welcome to Left, Right, Center. I'm Shaun Boyd. Former President Donald Trump says he's coming to Colorado. His visit prompted by reports 3 apartment buildings in the city were taken over by a Venezuelan gang. While police have refuted those reports, Trump has continued to repeat them. And at a rally in New York this past week, he said he plans to check the situation out himself. Tori Mason is your reporter in Aurora on the story.
Mayor Kaufman says he wants Mr. Trump on the ground to see the truth for himself. Trump also says he wants to visit the city of Springfield, but their mayor pushed back, saying it'd be an extreme use of resources. But Mayor Kaufman says there's value in having the former president here.
You look at Aurora in Colorado.
Former President Donald Trump has gone from referencing Aurora in the debate to promising a visit in the upcoming weeks.
And I'm going to Aurora.
Mayor Mike Kaufman hasn't heard from his campaign.
If he comes here, I see it as an opportunity.
Kaufman says the false rhetoric around Venezuelan gang activity is harming the city. The mayor welcomes the chance to brief Mr. Trump on the facts with police.
They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings.
You know, I would certainly love to show the president the city, and that would be certainly one component part of it.
You may never see me again, but that's okay.
Some city leaders say they don't want Aurora being used for Trump's agenda.
Anger, fear, confusion.
Councilmember Crystal Murillo says her constituents agree.
I don't think that Aurora taxpayers should be the ones to foot that bill.
Murillo says the city and police have already debunked misinformation, and a visit is not productive.
Frankly, the mayor has flip-flopped on his position, so I'm not sure he's in a position to state what's factual.
My reflections on the incident were based on a briefing that I got from law enforcement, and I think that that was one snapshot in time.
As the city continues to address what they call isolated incidents of TDA activity, the mayor says exaggerated rumors can't go on.
I think that there is a real concern if it continues.
Again, the mayor says the city has not heard anything from the Trump's campaign about scheduling an actual visit here. If they plan to do that, the mayor hopes they reach out soon. Reporting in Aurora, I'm Tori Mason, covering Colorado First.
And joining me are analysts, Republican Dick Wadhams, Democrat Mike Dino. So, Dick, Aurora police say they have arrested 10 of these Venezuelan gang members. So to say that Aurora has no problem with a gang, that's false, right? But to say that the gang has overtaken this city is also false, you know? And I think when politics dictates the narrative, which it seems to be happening in this case, really people are thinking, who do I believe? What do I believe anymore, right?
No doubt about it. And Shaun, there is a legitimate debate about immigration. I mean, Harris and Biden basically fumbled the ball on the border, and millions of illegal immigrants have come into the United States because they reversed President Trump's policies. But having said that, if Trump would come to Colorado and talk about legitimate differences on immigration, great. But you know what he's going to do? He's going to come here and he's going to talk about Aurora has been taken over by the Venezuelan gangs, and he's going to be talking about how the Haitians eat cats and dogs of their neighbors. He won't keep it to the right issues, and that's the danger. And he has no discipline when he goes out on these trips.
But even the media, you're seeing conflicting reports in the media on this too. It's really concerning. You know, Mike, do you think Trump will really follow through with his plan to visit Aurora and Springfield, Ohio, where there were rumors that have been since debunked that the Haitian migrants were somehow eating pets there? And if he does come here, you know, what's he to do? I mean, clearly a Venezuelan gang has not taken over the city.
Well, the countdown's on. I mean, I think he said that on Tuesday, and so he's in 2 weeks he's going to be out here. So we'll see. I don't know if he will. I think he's in a very desperate mode in his campaign. Dick's right, though. I mean, immigration does play to his favor, though. You know, recent polling has shown that voters are a little more favorable toward the vice president on it. And of course, the president and his policies have really stemmed the border crossings, and we've seen that in Denver, where, you know, the migrant shelters have been shut down and converted to cold weather shelters for the winter. So, you know, he's going to get out here. The facts don't matter for him. And it's because they are desperate. It is a message that echoes way beyond Aurora, Colorado.
Yeah, and it's too bad because the public becomes so confused over this whole thing. Well, who wins the presidential race could all come down to a Colorado neighbor, the Cornhusker state. Nebraska and Maine are the only two states that assign their presidential electors using a proportional system. And if the race is as close as it's expected to be, the one electoral vote in Nebraska's Congressional District 2 could be the tiebreaker. While the state is deep red, CD2, which includes Omaha, is purple. It went for Biden in 2020. Earlier this year, a bill giving the winner of the state all of the electoral votes failed in the state legislature, but Trump and other Republicans are urging the state's Republican governor to call a special session and try again. He said he will if he can get the votes, and so far, he doesn't have them. So, Mike, what do you see happening here?
Well, it's a last-ditch effort. Again, desperation at hand. It looks like Senator Lindsey Graham came in over this week to try to broker something, and people felt there was some momentum, but it doesn't look like they moved anybody. You know, to me, it all gets back to this electoral vote stuff. You know, Colorado in 2020 passed a ballot measure for the national popular vote. We were the first state to do that, where we just base our election on the popular vote. And I'd like to see that happen at some point. I may not be around even if I lived to 120, but that's where I think people really feel they'll have more of a voice, and we get out of this electoral college system. Yeah,
right. It's true. You know, Dick, this is kind of crazy that this could all come down to this one congressional district in Nebraska. What are the chances, do you think, that that would happen?
I think a good chance, and I'll tell you why. Kamala Harris could lose North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina, and if she carries the big blue wall states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, she's still one vote short. And it could come down to that. If they do that in Nebraska, then we'd have a tie, as I think, if my math is correct. And then it goes to the House of Representatives, which Trump does have an advantage there because each state gets one vote. Well, there are more states with Republican-controlled delegations than Democratic. And so he would win that under that scenario. So that one vote really does matter a great deal. Yeah.
Wow, can you imagine the drama of that?
In Dick's scenario, gets the vice president to 270 to win if she wins that district.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Ah, gosh. Well, up next, the Republican candidate in Colorado's Congressional District 8 fires his political director over an anti-Semitic post on social media. Welcome back to Left, Right, Center. Controversy erupted this past week in one of the most hotly contested races in the country, Colorado's Congressional District 8. Democratic incumbent Yadira Caraveo accused her Republican challenger Gabe Evans of not sufficiently condemning anti-Semitic posts made by his political director, Jessica Spindle. Evans fired Spindle, who also serves on the Weld County Board of Education, after learning about the post from a story in the Colorado Times-Recorder. His campaign released a statement saying Gabe fully rejects the offensive material contained in those social media posts. That's why he acted immediately upon learning of them. So, Dick, is the statement enough?
Yes, I think that Gabe responded immediately. He fired her. He condemned it, and that's plenty. And this is just Caraveo trying to make a story out of it that goes longer. I mean, she's on the Board of Education, as you point out. Why would you think that there would be this in her background? So, but he found out about it. He fired her. He condemned it. That's all he needs to do.
So, Mike, you know, you're right. She's on the Board of Education, so you would think this would have surfaced earlier. My understanding is the vast majority, in fact, all I think but one of these posts were made before she started working for Evans' campaign. But still, shouldn't the campaign have vetted her more? I mean, how well do campaigns vet their staff?
You know, Shaun, they don't. You know, I didn't real well. I mean, you kind of go by word of mouth. Somebody, I've had to let people go because of that. We certainly, in one of the mayoral campaigns in Denver, our opponent, we went back to one of his staff people who published a paper in college that had some stuff that wasn't great. And so, you know, everything in a campaign could be fair game. And Dick's right. I do think Gabe Evans really did handle it appropriately and quickly, and it makes it a very, you know, one-day issue, and they move on.
Yeah, maybe they should start vetting. Maybe
Well, you only have so much money on your
I
campaign.
know,
You know
right,
what I
and that
mean?
is true. A lot of these people are volunteers. I mean, she wasn't in this case.
And Mike's
but, yeah.
right. I mean, normally you kind of know these people you hire,
Right.
And
Yeah.
you make some assumptions, and maybe you can't anymore because of social media. I don't
Right.
know.
Well, voters in Colorado will decide 14 statewide ballot measures this November, 2 of them dealing with public safety. Supporters of Propositions 128 and 130 held a press conference this past week to rally support for the measures. 128 would require people convicted of a violent crime in Colorado serve 85% of their sentence before being eligible for parole. Those convicted of 3 violent crimes would have to serve 100% of their sentence. 130 would allocate $350 million in state funding to help local law enforcement agencies recruit and retain more officers and create a $1 million death benefit for the families of officers killed in the line of duty. So, you know, Mike, the $350 million would come out of existing state funds. We're not talking about a new tax here. Opponents say, you know, what this is going to do is really it's going to come at the expense of other crime prevention strategies. You know, think mental health support, for example. Supporters say, though, the best way to combat crime, and we have seen rising crime in Colorado, is with well-trained crime-fighting force, right? Trained officers here. So where do you see Coloradans coming down on this?
Well, first of all, 130 also may add $4 million more a year related to the benefit, the death benefit.
Right.
So it could cost more. I think it depends on how people feel safe. You know, the first issue about the former president coming to Aurora, raising this issue about Venezuelan gangs, it makes people nervous, uneasy. You know, violent crime has decreased in Colorado, as it has across all the country. And even in Denver, catalytic converter crime has dropped hugely because of a lot of measures. So I think it depends on how people feel. And if they don't feel safe, they're going to pass these.
Yeah. I suppose, although, you know, you get a property theft, something like that, anytime you're a victim of a crime, you know, you see it
It's very personal.
on that light. Right.
Very personal.
Right. So, Dick, supporters of Proposition 128 say, this is the one dealing with the parole for violent offenders, or bail. They say, you know, if they're forced to serve really more of their sentence, that we're going to see less recidivism here. The opponents say, nah, you know, what we're going to see is higher incarceration costs. That's what we're going to see. What argument do you think Coloradans are going to buy on this?
I think Coloradans are going to love this. I think it defies logic that these criminals get sentenced and then they don't serve that sentence. And I think people think, well, why do we even have sentencing then? Why don't we have some truth in sentencing, which this is trying to do? I remember when Bill Owens was governor, Shaun, that the legislature passed some tough on crime measures and people went to jail and stayed there, and then crime came down. And the Democrats at the time said, see, we didn't need all those measures because crime came down. Well, it came down because the bad guys were in jail. I mean, it's simple logic. I don't understand how anybody could oppose this. I really don't.
Yeah, and I think for those who think that it's not going to, you know, change their behavior, it gives victims, I think, of crime some solace, knowing, you know, some certainty, like this person is going to serve this sentence, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the weeks ahead, we'll be breaking down some of the other ballot measures, but that's it for this week. Thanks for watching Left, Right, Center. We'll see you next time.